I've been fascinated with art and music my entire life. In my adult life, I've been blessed to have met so many immensely talented visual and musical artists. Many from here in my own backyard. Kansas City has an abundant wealth of talented creators of original art. Join me, William Saunders, on a journey to illuminate the hidden architecture of creativity, how artists see, feel, imagine, and realize their inner worlds by engaging in open, exploratory dialogue. By bridging the rational and the intuitive, we aim to inspire fellow creators and curious audiences to appreciate the deeper forces behind visual and musical expression.
Inside the Creative Mind with your host, William Saunders.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Creative Mind. I had a guest had to reschedule with me, so this gave me an opportunity to do something a little different that I've been wanting to do, but just haven't had the time to really do it or the opportunity to kind of fit this in. So I'm making time to kind of do this one-off series to talk about some of my own process and some of my own work. So long story short, there was a period of time from 2009 through, I want to say 2016, 2017, where I was absolutely prolific in both art and music. But that's all I did. And so there's few things that I get to see through social media and through personal relationships that fill me with more joy than people I know that are able to do their passion on a full-time basis or the majority of their time. And it just so happens that life has, thrown, me some monkey wrenches that don't really allow for the time dedicated to it, obviously, like I used to. I'm not doing that full time. I'm not running a record label full time. I'm not doing any of that. But art and music still play an important role in my life. It's just the frequency has gone down to a drip. I don't write nearly as much music as I once did, and I certainly don't paint or draw as often as I once did. And so I'm going to give you, just for background, I'm going to put up here a couple images of some of my work so you can kind of see the context of what I'm talking about. So I would say if I had to venture and kind of, look at my own stuff and say, what are you good at? I would probably say pencils are probably my, working with graphite is probably my best trait as far as an artist. And I don't, honestly, I don't really even consider myself to be at the talent level of some of the people that I've had, on the show at all, but I do my own thing. And so what sets me apart is the fact that I am going to do my style regardless. I never try to copy anybody else's style. I've developed it and I kind of stick with it. And today, for the most part, this translates to my go-to medium is going to be acrylic with Sharpie. And you're saying, why Sharpie? Well, I just like the combination of that. I have done it for a while. Here's one of the first examples of me doing that. And, through the years, I've done many paintings this way, and this is kind of settled in as my kind of go-to style. And here's some more examples of that. So I do have a tradition, and that tradition, it centers around the sanctity of my birthday. And I have a philosophy about this, and I would encourage everybody to adopt this. Christmas is a shared event. All the holidays are pretty much a shared event. We all share those, but your birthday is the only thing that's truly yours. So throughout the years, I have been pretty religious about not working on my birthday. Well, the circumstances of this year are unlike any other year where it just turned out that I had to. And, but I took a portion of the day to really kind of make sure I do something creative because it's important for me to feed that. If I don't do it any other time through the year, I'm going to do it on my birthday. And I usually spend that day doing one of three things: painting. I'm either doing painting, music, or I'm going to go outdoors, hiking, camping, something. Now, January is pretty challenging. It's not like I haven't done it, but it's pretty challenging for the latter. Anyway, so I recorded this a while back when it was my birthday, and I'm going to play this clip for you, and then we'll talk after I finish this. Hey there. So it is a tradition of mine to not work my birthday and do something musically or artistically, just spend the day doing something I really, really enjoy doing. And so I haven't painted in a while now, so it's been a hot minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a piece. And just so we keep this in context with, Inside the Creative Minds kind of format, I wanted to tell you that there's really like two ways I will go about doing a painting. One is if I have something where I quite literally can envision the whole thing in my mind's eye, and then I'd simply go forth to try to make that. And the other way is that I just start slapping paint, and then whatever happens, happens. I'm kind of doing the latter this time. So I got a little palette here, so I'm going to flip this around. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with some greens and some golds and stuff like that. And I'm going to put this up here and just kind of cover this as a first initial coat. And it'll be a little bit of a wash to start with, and then I'll start filling in some stuff as it just appears to me. So I'll shoot some more as I get a little bit more into this, okay? Okay, so the deal with that is that I started with that wash, kind of doing that. And I meant to like film through the whole thing, and it just turned out where I got immersed. And once I get immersed, I don't think about anything else about, the world could be blowing up around me, and I'm in that moment. So I'm curious, for other artists that do visual arts, is that how it works with you? Do you get into, once you're in the groove, you're just like, you're oblivious to everything that's going on around you? That's kind of how I am. And so I want to show you some of the stages of this painting. So let's go back to, let's see here. I think this is the first one I show here. So on this shows when I finished the first wash. And I'm going to try and kind of keep this real and let you know at what point I know what it is I'm painting. Because at this point, it's just about color. It's about color and then figuring out what I want to go to next. So I started with this layer of green and golds in here. And then the next piece is, as you can see, I'm starting to add some reds and stuff into here. More reds. And at this point, I still have not a clue what this is going to be. I have not an inkling. I'm serious. I'm just putting down paint in some way, shape, or form. Same thing. And then by that point, I'm going to start the first time this is where that gap comes in. Although I was trying to take pictures of this with every single little step along the way, it just didn't turn out that way. So next thing you know, the next time I shot a photo was after I kind of saw what I wanted to do. And at this point, it's still iffy. I don't know if this is going to work really. So I add this guy in here. I start putting him in. As you can see, this is multiple stages here. I've added a paint layer, and then this is the first iteration where I've added Sharpie. And what I'm going to say about the Sharpie piece of this is, it's not necessarily that I paint and then I put Sharpie on top of everything. And to back up just for a second, I post these in various groups on Facebook, and I've had several people comment and say, acrylic and Sharpie? I didn't know you could do that. And so a lot of people aren't aware that this will actually work, and it does last over time. obviously if you use some type of clear coat, matte finish or, gloss finish on stuff, it'll help preserve it too. But there over decades, you'll see that there might be a little bit of fading, but not much. So it does hold up over time. And then sometimes I'll brush these up, but it doesn't really need much. So yeah, this has been my kind of go-to thing here. So, but I may paint on top of Sharpie, and I may put the Sharpie on top of paint. And it's usually a combination of both to get some of the effect that I want. So the next piece here is I've now started to determine, okay, I think I know how I'm going to make this guy's thing. And then I start to have the theme of what I'm going to do with this. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I think I know how I'm going to use Sharpie in the grand scheme of things to make this thing really pop. And as you can see, I've added more Sharpie. I've started to, outline this more. So, and I started to add in more and more detail to it. This is getting closer to the finished product. I've added more paint, more shading, more Sharpie to try to get the effect I'm really looking for. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to put something in his hand. That's just a different light. And I know that I want to use something up in the corner, in the upper left corner of this painting. So, and that's where this comes in. So it's weird because I had this vision. I don't know if you've ever familiar with the cartoon Samurai Jack, but the antagonist of the series is this demon called Aku, and everything associated with Aku has these jagged, sharp lines and stuff. Like the buildings and stuff like that. He exist in cracks in the ground, or all these sharp, jaded edges, just like this. And so, as I'm putting this in there, I was like, oh wow, this looks like Aku. And then because I made these look like lightning bolts, I was like, aha, I now not only do I have what this is, but I have also what the title's going to be. And as you can see, the final touch I had on this painting is to add in this lightning bolt here at the end. And, obviously, to take a page out of one of my guests, the great Anastasia Drake, she mentioned, because I asked her, when do you know when something is complete? And, her comment was, I'm going to paraphrase, was basically, once the signature is added, it's done, leave it alone. And so at this point, because I could continue to literally mess with this for for a long time, I added my signature in there, and then I washed my hands of it and said, okay, this is now complete. I might have gone in and did a little bit more shading to get to this point with Sharpie, but as you can see, all the Sharpie lines have been accentuated again to make this kind of pop like that. And then I've got this 3D sense of this. So I think I titled this "Stealing Zeus's Thunderbolt," and it's kind of a Prometheus type of thing. So here's this guy, and I mean, you can interpret this however you want. The great thing I love about art and music is people get their own meanings out of stuff like that. So this is my first work of 2026. So I wanted to share that with you and kind of walk you through a little bit of how my process is. And I apologize. I really wanted to show this in every single little stage, a little bit of a time lapse. I just got so caught up in it, I forgot what the hell I was doing. So, which does happen. I ain't gonna lie. So that's that. Now for some other business and stuff like that. So, I think it's important for everybody to, well, as we start to refocus as a nation to instill the values and decency we really want in place, I think we need to appreciate the role that art plays in the subconscious of us not only as a nation, but as a species. Art, to quote my friend Maria Vasquez Boyd, is the canary in the coal mine. And you see through political satire, through different paintings and different artistic impressions, the sentiment of at the ground level. And at the ground level, there's, obviously a lot of disagreement with the direction of the country and whatnot. And this is not meant to be, I'm not recording this to be a political thing. I'm letting you know that this is a time when people's voice through their art form is probably more important than any recent time in history. And as I look at the landscape, as I'm searching through social media and news feeds and catching up with my favorite artists and stuff like that, I see this undertone of wanting to express anger, to want to promote hope. And it's just, it leads the way ahead of what actions often are on a more grand scale. And I think if you pay attention to the art that's being generated at any particular point in time, you can get a feel for what is the real pulse of a nation, of the world, really. And I think that's something we should never overlook, is the power of art forms to resonate in ways that words by themselves may not suffice. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful that we can take all that feeling and put it on a canvas, or we can take all that feeling and put it into a song. So if there's nothing else that I can get across other than just showing you a little bit of behind the scenes with my own work, is to let you know that I think it's right now, right at this particular junction in time, it is more important to support the artists that you know in your life than at any other point I can think of. Go see a show, go to a gallery and see somebody's exhibit. Contribute to their Patreon or however you can to just let them know that what they're doing matters. Buy a song, buy an album. There's so many things we can do to feed our artistic community in such a way that benefits us all. I just don't think there's enough support for the arts right now. And funding, if you're not aware, with the changes in this administration trickling down to the state level, a lot of art-related money has either been condensed or it's completely dwindled. And art organizations are having to be clever. They're having to rely more on individual donations and other clever ways to replace revenue that has traditionally always been there. So it's a challenge for the art. And do not support censorship. Art should be able to speak as art wants to speak. You may not like it, and it may not be something for your taste, but, excuse me, but who cares? Who cares if you don't like it? Somebody else does. And, obviously within, you don't want anything that's criminal, that's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about just regular art form and stuff like that. It's vital. That's all I got to say about that. So more episodes are getting ready to film. I think I'm filming this weekend. And so another episode will be out, the following week. I'm excited about this series. I'm excited about staging the second season of the show, and it'll only get better. I'm going to try to get some help from my son to help with the producing of this series. That will make a difference, and I think I'm really optimistic about good things coming from keeping things as real as possible and just being open and sharing some of these wonderful, wonderful people's stories with you. I have been so inspired by this series and conducting these interviews that it makes me want to do my art form more. Obviously, I got some time constraints that could prevent that, but I'm hoping that if I'm successful and if you have any creative bone in your body, I'm hoping that this series inspires you to do something. Get out the crayons, get out the pencils, get out the magic markers, and just do something that makes you happy. And if you haven't done art, if you used to do art and you put it away and you haven't done it for years, break it back out and let the pen and the paper or the paint and the canvas, let it speak to what you're feeling and what's inside of you, and let it out. It's therapeutic and it's cathartic, but it may speak to somebody in a way that you didn't intend to, and they get something out of it. So, and even if you're not a creative person, you can appreciate it. There's very few people I've ever met in my life that were completely not into music or not into art in one way, shape, or form. I know they exist. I just don't know anybody like that. So anyway, I hope you and yours have a great and wonderful day. Keep at it. Things will get better. And hope shines. I'll see you guys.